So my name's Katie, and this is my first time uploading a video to YouTube. And the reason I'm doing this is because I've been searching for answers and I haven't been able to find them myself. So I figure there's obviously other people out there searching for these same answers, and I can hopefully help people understand what's going on. So this is me talking about my Eustachian tube dilation or Eustachian tuboplasty. I've heard both names. Surgery, it's actually a procedure because they're not cutting and slicing. Procedure that I'm going to be having. So a little bit of background, I live in Northern Nevada, and I was learning to dive in Lake Tahoe in July of 2021. And I was at 17 feet. There's a platform down there that they use for divers. And one of the skills you have to do is mask, remove, and replace. And so I put just a little bit of more air in my BC or buoyancy compensator. It's like the little float vest that you wear with the weights in it, to try to get myself where I'm not sitting on the bottom, but I'm also not floating. It's called neutral buoyancy. So I tried to get to myself to that point. Instead of waiting until I realized where I was at, I put a little bit of air in and just popped my mask right off. Because I didn't have a mask on, I had my eyes closed because I don't typically open my eyes under the water. And I floated to the surface. Now this whole issue could have been prevented, but I'll go into that in a little bit. So I floated to the surface. For some reason, I kept my mask off to finish the skill. So I took air out of my BC and I sunk 17 feet. And because I sunk 17 feet and I hit the bottom like a rock because I had no idea how fast I was sinking because I didn't have my goggles on, I really hurt my ears. And so I shot back up to the top. So I had 2 uncontrolled ascents and an uncontrolled descent to 17 feet and back. Mind you, I am at elevation. I think Tahoe is probably right around 7,000 feet on some of the summits, if that gives you a little bit of an idea of the elevation. So the whole thing could have been prevented. One, if my instructor had grabbed me, because my instructor was watching me do the skill to sign off on it, and they didn't grab me and hold on to me, which I'm not mad, and I'm not going after my dive center. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to let them know what happened, especially now that we are almost a year later. I'm filming this in March of 2022, kind of end of March. And they just need to know that this happened. So that's one way, is my instructor could have held on to me. And the other way was if I put my mask back on when I hit the surface the first time. So I do that, right? I get back to the surface and my ears are screaming. And because it's Lake Tahoe in the summer, there's a bunch of different dive companies out there, teaching people how to dive. So a dive instructor who I was not with, who was not with my company, who was not with my group, saw me shoot back to the surface and came over to check on me. We just thought I had water in my ear, stuff like that. So we were using like swimmer's eardrops and everything like that. Obviously didn't work. Here we are. But I dove the second day and it was very, very painful. The entire time I was able to do it. I was able to pass the course. I have my scuba cert, but I haven't been scuba diving since. So about a week later or so, I want to say, I went and I saw my local ear, nose, and throat specialist, my ENT. And he looked in my ear. It's all on my right side. And he goes, "Oh, it looks like you burst a couple of blood vessels behind your eardrum." I was like, all right, cool. So what do we do? So, we tried prednisone, which is an over-the-counter or a behind-the-counter steroid. They recommended that I try, and it helped. It helped a lot, but it didn't do everything. So then they recommended when I would go to elevation, because I go to Tahoe on a regular basis, that I use like the over-the-counter stuff, so like Flonase and things like that. Didn't really do much. I asked if I had been under the care of an allergist, and I have. I've been seeing my allergist for almost 2 years because I've got, chronic allergic to life stuff. But finally, they were like, okay. So they referred me to, he goes, I can do this procedure but I'm going to refer you to somebody in California. So I think it was last week on Thursday, I went and I saw the ENT in California, Northern California. And I'm not trying to say anything because I'm not super fond of them, but that's okay. And they did a hearing test and everything looks pretty okay. And they did a head CT and everything as far as eustachian tube and ears looked fine. I had a little bit of like inflammation in my sinuses as you hear me sniffling because I have chronic allergies, but they said that's totally normal. So basically what they've decided to do is they've decided to do the eustachian tube dilation procedure. Both of the ENTs I've talked to say it's got about a 70% success rate, and both of them are only willing to do it under general anesthesia. This is the first time I will be going under general anesthesia, so it'll be a fun ride, but that's also why I'm here, is to talk about my personal experiences. So I did some research and it can be done under local anesthesia in an office. But again, both of my providers that I've been seeing don't recommend it. So basically what the procedure is they stick like a tube, basically with a balloon on the end of it that's deflated. They stick it up your nose, pass it through your sinuses, and then down and behind your eardrum. So they don't want to cut open your eardrum. These aren't ear tubes. They're not going through the eardrum. The eardrum stays intact. And so what they're going to do is they're going to go behind the eardrum. They're going to poke the little balloon down into the eustachian tube and inflate it, let it sit for a little bit, and then deflate it and take it out to hopefully just kind of open everything up. So some of the signs and symptoms that I've personally been having is I'm not able to clear or pop or equalize, whatever you want to call it, my ears. So when you're flying, when you're going up in elevation or even down, you have to kind of clear your ears, either by, pinching your nose and blowing out through your ears, jacking your jaw from side to side, chewing gum, yawning, whatever. I'm able to do it, but it takes a lot of effort, which is very frustrating because I go to Tahoe at least 2 times a week right now. And so most of the time, especially when I'm headed back down the mountain, I actually have to pull over to the side and purposefully stop and do all of these maneuvers to try to clear my ear. Whereas before, I was just like everybody else, you clear as you go kind of thing. So that's kind of what we're lining up for, is this crazy procedure. Now, because I have not been under general anesthesia before, I am terrified of general anesthesia, but that doesn't mean that you should be. General anesthesia is pretty safe, all considered. It's done all the time, all day, every day. There's people whose jobs it is to do this kind of thing. And my doctor who's going to be doing the procedure has done it before. So I have faith in my medical care team, which is the biggest thing. It's just kind of there's always uncertainty going into anesthesia, and I think people need to understand that anesthesia is not perfect. But it's done so often that these people are really good at it. So I want to bring, even if nobody watches this video, I really don't care. I just hope that I can kind of bring light to what's going on, so that way if somebody is going to be going through this procedure like I am, they can kind of reference and see how other people's experiences have gone. Because at this point, I have seen one other creator who did do a couple of follow-up videos, and I'm not throwing shade on her at all, but they were a little discouraging because it didn't work for her, at least in her 2-week video update, 2 weeks post-procedure. So I'm hoping and praying to whatever you believe is above or below, or whatever, that's on you. But we're going to see how this goes, and so I'm going to take you along with me, not into the operating room necessarily, but I will take you over to California with me, and just kind of check on how my nerves are going and everything like that. So my procedure is the 28th of March, 2022, and today is the 19th of March, 2022. So we're about a week away. which is really scary. But I just, I want to bring somebody along this ride with me. And, obviously I have my friends and family, but doing my own research, which can be bad, but trying to listen to other people's experiences with this procedure, it feels like it's non-existent. So I'll do probably an update right before, like the day before when I'm driving over to California, because they recommend I spend the night before, just because of weather conditions. It's March in Nevada, and you never know what's going to happen. We've had a lot of boulders falling recently on the freeways, which is always fun. So they recommend I head over the night before. So I'll probably do an update then, and then maybe an update like Tuesday afterwards, because I'll be fully up and awake and hopefully kind of remember what's going on at that point. So I know I'm rambling and I know I'm bubbling, just kind of going on, but I think it's really important to be able to watch creator videos like this, where it's raw and it's real, and I'm a real human being going through all of these very real things, kind of unknown is the nice way of phrasing it. I don't know what's going to happen. We don't know how this is going to go. So come along on the ride with me, and we will share in this journey together.